Hare Krishna. So I want to welcome everyone to the first of 7 days of classes on Kirtans in celebration of World Holy Name Festival 2020. Tonight we have the good fortune of having with us His Holiness Guru Prasad Swami to commence our virtual celebrations. Maharaj is no stranger to the Caribbean, Central and South America, as he is the GBC for many of these yatras within these regions, as well as he is one of the early pioneers who have spread the glories of the holy name. So it is only fit that Maharaj speaks on this pleasant inaugural night. So Maharaj, over to you.
Hare Krishna. So I would like to welcome everyone and thank you for this opportunity to address the devotees and all of you in Trinidad, Guyana, Suriname, or wherever you may be hearing from on this wonderful inauguration of the Holy Name Week, which is a very, very important, very, very important. I wanted to begin, let me begin by just chanting the Mangala Charan. Om Jnana Timandasya Gyananjana Sharakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakata Mahyam Darati Shvaha Patantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Rishatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadha Shivashari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, when we have Janmastami, it is a day to practice pure devotional service, because if you actually participate, you can go to the temple or in your own home, just like Srila Prabhupada. In one occasion, he said, let us read the whole Krishna book on Janmastami. Or you can decorate the altar beautifully, you can serve the deity, you can dress the deity. But the point is, it's a day of pure devotion. But it's not meant to be a historical moment. Yes, that was very nice. Now let me get back to business as usual. So also this Holy Name Week is not meant to be, yes, let me be absorbed in the holy name for a week, and then the other 51 weeks, I'll do what I want. This is not the purpose. Just like Janmastami is meant to give you a taste for pure devotion so that you will seek pure devotion. And Holy Name Week means to concentrate, holy name, Harinam, chanting more and better rounds, just completely being absorbed in the holy name. And especially because the holy name is both the sadhana and the sadhya. It is the process and it is the goal. It is the goal because actually the Maha Mantra, it's explained by some of our acharyas, Dhanachandra Acharya, that the holy name means in the spiritual world that Krishna is calling Radha, Radha is calling Krishna. So Krishna's first, because as Srila Prabhupada said on one of his Radhastami lectures, that everyone is looking for Krishna and Krishna is looking for Radharani. So he says Hare, and then she says Krishna. So it's, and then they become more absorbed in each other and they say Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. So So this is such a wonderful opportunity, but we shouldn't leave it for, okay, I did my Holy Name Week. Just like in India, many people during Kartik, ordinary people, they don't eat meat or eggs or fish, but then the rest of the year they do it. So that's how I wanted to introduce that. We have to take advantage of this Holy Name Week by bringing ourselves to the point of where the Holy Name is the most important thing of my life, not something that I have to chant in the morning. Anytime you say have to, that means that it's probably not very dear to the heart. Want to, desire to, can't do without. This is the feeling that we should have for the Holy Name, and this is what we want to achieve. Now, in the beginning of our Mangala Charan, of course, I chanted abbreviated version, but Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Stapita, Rupa Goswami, his purpose was to establish the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada says in the Antya Lila that the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is to spread the Harinam Sankirtan movement. Otherwise, and he said that's the actual purpose for his coming. His internal reason, he comes to experience the bliss of Srimati Radharani. But his external reason, and external reason means what is our mission and what is the most important thing for us as long as we are conditioned in this material world. It is to spread the holy name. So this is what Mahaprabhu wanted us to do, so much so that he says in his that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it explains what is Lord Chaitanya's mission when it's speaking about the desire tree of pure devotion. And that desire tree of pure devotion, it has prema phala, or it has fruits of love of Godhead. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, and this prema phala means the holy name, or of course it could mean books, which are an expansion of kirtan, an expansion of the holy name. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Ataeva ami agya dilun sabakari jahan tahan prema phala deha jaritari. He said, I instruct every person within the universe that they should take these fruits, this prema phala, these fruits of the holy name, and give them to everyone and spread them everywhere. And of course, we know the famous verse, which Srila Prabhupada quoted, dozens of times, if not hundreds of times, that Pritivityachya yatta nagaradi gram sarvatra prachara haibe morinam. Of course, the original verse, I don't know where that verse came from, because the original verse is Pritiviti payanta yate yachya deshagram sarvatra sangchara hoibika morinam. But whichever verse you use, it means the same thing, that one should go from town to village, one should go everywhere and spread the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. This is the purpose. So this Holy Name Week means many things. It means that we should be organizing, of course, in Trinidad, and especially in Guyana, even more than Trinidad, although Trinidad tries to keep up with them. I don't know about Suriname. I've never had the privilege of being there, but very popular with the also with the inspiration of His Holiness Bhakti Marg Swami to do Nam Kirtan, to do as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it says, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do? Udila Aruna Pura Babhagi, Dvijamani Gora Amina Chagi. That this most wonderful Brahmin, what did he do? As soon as the sun came up, And even before the sun came up, he would go to every town and village and sing Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari Bolena Bolo Re Badana Borde. Gelo, what is it? Gelo Re Rate Divasa. So chant these names, Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari. Don't spend your nights and your days uselessly decorating your body and sleeping. So this is the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And at the end of that wonderful song, what does Bhaktivinoda Thakur say? He says that I'm trying to remember. It's just been a while since I chanted that song. Jivara Kalyana Sadhanakam Madhura Ashe Jagate Ashe Jagate Ashe Madhura Nam. That the holy name has descended for the purpose of blessing all the living entities. Aviditimara tapana rupe hridgagane vidaje. And the holy name, if we actually chant it properly, aviditimara tapana rupe, it's just like the sun, it will rise to the acme, the zenith point, meaning when the sun is overhead, there is no shadow, there's no avidya, there's no ignorance, which is like timira, which is like darkness. There's no darkness, there's no shadow. Avidya timira tapana hridgagane vidhaje. No, this is the effect of the holy name. This is the power of the holy name. So, and then he goes on to say that I beg this holy name to accept me, because Chauda Bhuvana Maje, within the 14 worlds, the only reality is the holy name. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that the holy name, there are two spiritual realities in Kali Yuga. One is the jiva, and of course, meaning the Shuddha jiva. That's of course, all jivas are pure, but the Shuddha jiva manifests his purity, and the chanting of the holy name. These are the main factors in this Kali Yuga that will bring us to the platform of worshiping Krishna. And I was speaking this morning in another audience, another lecture, that in 1970, Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles, there was a big class, but the devotees were very new, very neophyte. So Prabhupada called on one lady, Nandarani, who was a very senior, one of the senior most ladies in our Krishna consciousness movement, and asked her, so are you chanting your 16 rounds? And she said, I try. And of course, later on, she revealed to devotees that the temple authorities had actually told her, because she said, it's so difficult to chant 16 rounds. They said, that's no problem, just do your service. So then Srila Prabhupada in the Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 113, Srila Prabhupada said a famous verse that speaks about one should always remember Krishna and never forget him at any time. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that the most important instruction of the spiritual master is to chant a prescribed number of rounds, to chant a prescribed number of rounds, 16 minimum. And sometimes Srila Prabhupada was requested, even one time one of his disciples challenged Srila Prabhupada, saying that, well, why are you only saying 16 rounds? We should chant more. And in another occasion, another very, very sincere and dedicated disciple, I won't mention his name, not to embarrass him, but his wife had come to the movement through Siddha Swarup. And of course, I don't know if everybody knows, if anybody who's read Lilamrita will know Siddha Swarup. And he was he was a yoga teacher and surfer, and he attracted many people. He was a very charismatic person. And so anyway, she followed him. And so there was a discussion with Srila Prabhupada that they were feeling that in the temples, they were emphasizing too much service, and chanting was done very quickly so that people could serve. And Srila Prabhupada, so he asked, why are you giving preference? Why do you want to be with Siddha Swarup? And the devotee answered, well, it seems like he's very enthusiastic and very insistent on chanting purely the holy name. And Srila Prabhupada said, oh, I am not doing this. And Prabhupada said, so therefore you will go with someone who does not follow the instructions of the spiritual master. So, of course, Prabhupada appreciated him as a disciple. He just wasn't happy that he couldn't imbibe but the point is that every time someone would question the chanting of the holy name, Srila Prabhupada emphasized again and again and again. And what did he give the name to our movement? Krishna consciousness movement. Otherwise, chanting Hare Krishna. So these instructions are there for us. And of course, later on, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the instruction that everyone in all over the universe should spread these fruits, then he said, and I'm saying this because most of the audience that's listening now, most of you are of Indian descent. So someone may think, well, Indian, American, Mexican, Brazilian, what's the difference? Well, the difference is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave everyone who is born in India or who is of Indian descent, because one time Srila Prabhupada was giving a lecture and he quoted this verse, Bharata Bhumita Hoila Manusha Janma Jar Janma Sartaka Kori Koro Parupakar. That especially if you're born in India. So one devotee said, I was born in London. And Prabhupada said, your parents were born in India. And Prabhupada said, and the boy said, no, they were born in England also. And Prabhupada said, their parents were born in India. So it doesn't matter how far down the line you are, you have a responsibility. I've seen many times in Trinidad, and not so much in Guyana because I haven't been there that much, but many people are proud of being descending from Indian heritage. But if you descend from Indian heritage and you're in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you have a big responsibility to Kori Koro Para Upakar. You have to spread. You have the specific responsibility to spread the chanting of the holy name. And then after that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited one famous verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Etavad Janma Sapalyam Dehinam Iha Dehishu Pranayar Artair Diyava Cha Shreya Acharanam Sada, which means that anyone who is within a material body, within this material world, should take advantage of the greatest fruit, the greatest possibility, the greatest benefit. And prayar archayar diya vacha, prayar with one's whole life, artayar with all one's facilities, diya with all one's intelligence, and vacha, all of one's words. As Rupa Goswami says, Karmana Manasa Gira, and also another verse from Vishnu Purana, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted, very similar to this verse, but he says the same thing, Karmanam Manasa Gira. With one's actions, with one's thoughts, and with one's words, one should be absorbed in all these three, giving the holy name of Krishna. And so this is Mahaprabhu's wish. And of course, I've said many times, if you can't give your whole life, well, give your wealth. If you can't give your wealth or you don't have it, you don't have much wealth, then diya, use your intelligence. And if you don't have much intelligence, bacha, chant the holy name of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada said one time that the Bhagavad Gita is for people who are philosophically inclined. Srimad Bhagavatam is for devotees. Chaitanya Charitamrita is for pure devotees. And the holy name and Krishna Prasadam are for everyone. So just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through the words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Eniche aushadi maya nashi bharo lagi, harinam mahamantra nautumi lagi. He says, I have brought the medicine. He says, I am your only friend. Meaning that every other friend in this material world, unless they come in the line of Rupa Goswami and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, cannot be called a true friend. As Srila Prabhupada said, there's different kinds of friends. There's Bandhu, Mitra, and Suhrit. Bandhu means social friend. Mitra means a close friend, but based on maybe parentage or being in a certain community or something like that, being around certain people. And Suhrit means the dearest friend. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I am your dearest friend. I'm your dearest friend because I'm bringing you the medicine. And that medicine, what is it? Harinam Mahamantra Lautumi Magi. Take this Mahamantra, beg for this Mahamantra. This is the most wonderful thing, and it's meant for everyone. One time, Mahaprabhu was, when he had just taken sannyas and he was on his way to Jagannath Puri. So he stopped in one village of everyone was a washerman. In those days in India, you would have a whole village that would dedicate themselves to washing, and another village, people would dedicate themselves to selling clay pots. And these were very small villages, only 1 or 2 kilometers apart. But this was very common in those days. So he came to a village of washermen. And he was feeling so much ecstasy by chanting the holy name that he stopped. And there was one washerman, and he said, Bolo, Bolo, Hari Bolo, Hari Bolo. Chant the name of Hari. And the washerman thought, oh, here's another one of these sadhus. He wants to get a donation or wants to get something from me. So he said, no. And Mahaprabhu said, Bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And when he said the holy name like that, the washerman said, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. And then, because he received it in his heart from Mahaprabhu, he just started chanting more and more. And then as he chanted more, seeing the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and receiving the holy name from Mahaprabhu, then he began, he fell on the ground and he was rolling in ecstasy. And his wife came and she thought, just see, this tantric sannyasi has put some ghost into my husband. And she said to the other the other laundry people, that help him. And as soon as they touched him, they would start chanting the holy name in ecstasy and rolling on the ground. And pretty soon the whole village was chanting the holy name. So the point is, one may say, well, oh, that's nice when you get the holy name from Mahaprabhu, but what about me? I got the holy name from somebody in USA, somebody from Canada. No, we all got it from Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada is the dearmost servant of Rupa Goswami. He's the representative of the Rupanugas. And Srila Prabhupada said one time that the farther down you are in the parampara, then the more fortunate you are. Otherwise, as long as the parampara is bona fide, the farther down you're situated, because you get the mercy of Mahaprabhu, and then you get the mercy of Nityananda and Panchatattva, and then you get the mercy of Rupa Goswami and 6 Goswamis, And then you get the mercy of Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, Baladev, and the whole parampara, and Srila Prabhupada, and one's own spiritual master. And so we get this composite mercy, one stack of mercy on another. And it all comes through the agency of the holy name. Even Sri Sanatana Goswami, he said that in Kali Yuga, in previous times, you could get Siddha Pranali. You would get your Siddha Pranali, or your perfection, your perfect spiritual body, you would get it from the spiritual master. But in Kali Yuga, you may get that, but the main way to get the perfection, and of course this is mentioned by Mahaprabhu, that Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kapinoy, that we have perfect Krishna consciousness already within our hearts. It just has to be awakened. And how is it awakened? Shuddha Chitte, when the heart becomes purified by the chanting of the holy name. Chetu Darpanamajanam, Baba Mahadvagni Nirvapanam. By the dust is cleansed away, covering the heart, and then the remnants that cause that dust to accumulate, otherwise the underlying cause, the subtle cause, Bhava Mahadvagni Nirvapanam, is removed by the chanting of the holy name. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what did he do? He gave us Shikshastika. And what is Shikshastika? It is the glorification of the holy name and the indication everything is coming from the holy name. And then, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes it to the point of the holy name gives us realization that I'm not this body, that I'm an eternal spirit soul at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And after that, I am, then I can begin to feel. Up to that point, the fifth verse of Shikshastika is Sambandha Gyan. It's to establish our relationship with Krishna. Once we're situated at his lotus feet, then the next two verses of Shikshastika are the Abhideya, what is the result of chanting the holy name? And then the goal, the last verse, Ashishya Parava. Then that verse indicates a prayojana, the perfection. The perfection is that when we purified the heart, when the holy name is acted fully and properly and completely, then we're so attached to Krishna that whatever Krishna does is perfect. Just like His Holiness Bhakti Sundar Maharaj publishes, many of you may get it, his quotes, daily quotes. And one of those quotes recently, Srila Prabhupada says, yes, Krishna, of the mercy givers, he is the greatest giver of mercy. And also, when people act improperly, Krishna is the absolute giver of difficulty or cruelty. Otherwise, he's absolute in every way. So if we take advantage of the holy name, by taking advantage of this Holy Name Week, by organizing festivals, Harinam, and all kinds of activities based on the holy name, choosing different verses, just like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Gaya, then of course he saw the lotus feet of Vishnu. He was very happy, and then he saw Ishwarapuri, and immediately within his heart, of course this is all his arrangement ultimately by Yoga Maya, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to feel this as a devotee. He felt inspired, and then later he asked Ishwarapuri to be his spiritual master. And of course, Ishwarapuri said, you're the Supreme Lord. So if you tell me to initiate you, I'll do so, because I have to follow your instruction. Otherwise, he wanted to make it clear that I know that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but because you're requesting me to do this, I will do it. And then he instructed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he revealed it to Prakashananda Saraswati and all the sannyasis in Varanasi. He said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that my spiritual master, he taught me this chanting of the holy name. And he said, this is the most important thing, because Nahika Vedanta Dikar, because I am not, he told me that you are not qualified to study Vedanta. Of course, Mahaprabhu knew Vedanta, he's Krishna, and Krishna is Vedavit Evachaham. He is the compiler of Vedanta. Of course he knows it, but he was taking the role of ourselves. He told me to chant the holy name. Sada Japa, always chant the holy name. And the holy name is the most pure thing. And then he told him the effects of the holy name, that one will feel great ecstasy in chanting the holy name. And then he spoke one verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, my spiritual master said that this verse is the essence of the whole Bhagavatam. Evam Bharta Swa Priya Nama Kirtya Chatanu Rago Tuta Chitta Uchchai. That once one is determined, Evam Bharta, one takes the vow, one develops the determination to always chant the holy name. Swa Priya Nama, when Swapriya, when Nama becomes Swapriya, the most dear thing to my heart, Kirtya, chanting that holy name becomes the most dear thing to my heart. Then Jatanuruga, Chitta Uchchai, that ecstasy will erupt in one's mind, in one's body. And the result will be Hasatyato Roditi Rauti Gayat Nyunmada Vanriyati Lokabahyaha. That one will smile, one will feel happiness, one will feel spiritual agitation, one will feel bliss, and one will be overcome by spiritual madness and dance and chant loudly without caring for outsiders. Of course, we want to care for outsiders. So we want to feel the ecstasy of chanting the holy name. But when we're giving the holy name, especially in Holy Name Week, part of it is receiving the holy name, cultivating the holy name, becoming more absorbed in the holy name. And then we give it to others. And when we give it to others, of course, we don't want to be loka bahya, without any consideration of the external people. We want the external people to see us as very serious, but happy, blissful, but very serious persons who are giving something very valuable. And speaking about giving something very valuable, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted the holy name to be spread everywhere. And therefore one day he called, Shunu Shunu Nityananda Shunu Haridas. Oh Nityananda, oh Haridas, you too, you are my main. Because Haridas was, Haridas Thakur was the Acharya of the holy name, and Nityananda Prabhu, the most merciful manifestation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most merciful expansion. So he told them that Sarvatra Amara Gya Koroho Prakash, that I want you to take this mission of spreading the holy name. I want you to take it everywhere. Prati Ghari Ghari Diya Koro E Bhiksha. I want you to go door to door. Sometimes when we do Harinam, or when we do the Padayatra or Harinam Yatra, then when we do that, we're actually going door to door. But we have to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's specific request to Nityananda and Haridas was that you go to door and koro e bhiksha, you beg, but you don't beg some rice. You don't say, give me some money. You say, please take this holy name. Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Koro Krishna Shiksha. That chant the holy name, worship Krishna, and try to understand the instructions of Krishna. That this was his instruction. And then you said later on, Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Loho Krishna Nam. That you should, while you're chanting and while you're worshiping Krishna, you should become absorbed in this holy name. Why? Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dhanapran. Because Krishna is your mother, Krishna is your father, Krishna is the dearmost treasure of your heart. So this was the instruction. This is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted us to do, and therefore he's giving it. And then, of course, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur expands on that and speaks about the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu and how he began the Namahata. And what was the price? The price is faith. You must have faith. Faith is the price. And of course, the price is also mentioned in a famous verse. How does that verse go? I haven't recited it for a long time. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati. If you want Krishna Bhakti Rasa, if you want to really taste the essence of Krishna Bhakti, then you must be willing to pay the price. And what is the price? Tatralolyam api mulyam ekalam. There's only one price, and that one price is laulyam. You have to have greed. You have to have greed for the holy name. You have to have greed for Krishna consciousness. So the Holy Name Week is also meant to increase that greed, to go out and give the holy name. And when we're giving the holy name, give Srila Prabhupada's books, which are an expansion of the holy name. And when you see that people are happy to take that holy name, then we become blissful. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted us to do that, so much so that he empowered different devotees. And one of the devotees specifically that he empowered to chant the holy name was Nakula Brahmachari. Nakula Brahmachari was empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the degree that Mahaprabhu directly entered his body. And he would give instructions, the exact instructions of Mahaprabhu, and he would chant the holy name in such a way that just by touching people, they would begin to chant. And of course, it's explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and especially by Srila Bhaktivinoda, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that in the section chapter 15, 16, 17, there's a progression. And in that progression, the residents of Kulinagaram, headed by Satyaraj Khan, first they ask Mahaprabhu, because he says that one should worship a Vaishnava and always chant the holy name of Krishna. Because they're asking, how do I get out of the mire of the contamination of material existence? So he says, always chant the holy name and always be absorbed in the holy name and serve the Vaishnava. So then they asked, what is a Vaishnava? So Mahaprabhu said, a Vaishnava is someone who has chanted the holy name once, meaning that someone who has actually chanted the holy name in a pure way. And so they came back the next year and they asked again, what is a Vaishnava? And Mahaprabhu said, a Vaishnava is someone who's always chanting the holy name. And then they came back the next year and they said again, what is a Vaishnava? And Mahaprabhu said, the best Vaishnava is one who by seeing them, one will chant the holy name. And this was Srila Prabhupada's position. one time he was giving an interview, and this person who interviewed him was famous for cutting down people, insulting them, trying to expose whatever they're doing. And he had that desire with Srila Prabhupada. He'd, try to find anything that we've done wrong in Krishna consciousness and bring it up to Srila Prabhupada and try to stump. That was his whole technique, was to bring out all these things which which the person who's being interviewed didn't expect, and they can't answer. But Srila Prabhupada just completely disarmed him. And when he, because he had a chair for Prabhupada, but the devotees at the last minute came in, took away the chair and put in a big Vyasasana. So the man became more furious, more determined. But as he spoke to Srila Prabhupada, first thing he asked was, "Why do you shave your head?" And Prabhupada said, "Oh, it's very clean, just like the military." And so, of course, he began to change. And by the end, he said to Prabhupada, "Anytime you want to come on my show, you're welcome." So this is the power of the holy name. The power of the holy name, that the holy name empowers us. As it said that Krishna Shakti Vina Tara Pravartana, that unless one is empowered by the holy name of Krishna, unless one is empowered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by Srila Prabhupada, we cannot give the holy name. It's not that automatically, if I chant, then my chanting will be so potent that everyone will become Krishna conscious. It is that if I chant following in the footsteps of the great acharyas, then the potency will be there by their mercy. When we give the credit to the parampara, then the parampara can empower us. But when we want to take credit, then they abandon us. So, of course, not permanently, but at least until we give up our false pride. So the Holy Name Week is meant to empower us. 1 week of better japa, better kirtan, more japa, more hearing about the Holy Name. Just like I mentioned this verse from the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Evamrata Swapriya Nama Kirtya. So this is what we're trying to achieve in this Holy Name Week. We want to achieve that everyone, this should be our goal, that everyone will hear the Holy Name. Even His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, he had suggested at the time when this COVID began, why don't we ask all different religions of the world, send out the message, let us all chant the name of God on one particular day at one particular moment, or ask people to do it continuously, but also to coincide in one moment. And the power of that chanting will be overwhelming. Of course, that didn't quite happen, but some places, some people in some places, they tried to do it. So the chanting of the holy name and spreading the holy name is so important. I wanted to mention also that Sri Prahlad Maharaj, when he was speaking to glorifying the Lord, he offered one prayer, Prayena Deva Muniya Swavimukti Kama. He said that most times, in most instances, that those munis, these saintly persons, are swavimukti, kama. They're very desirous of their own liberation. Manom charanti vichane na parartha nishtaha. They practice vows of silence. They travel from one place to another, but their ultimate purpose, they don't reach the real purpose, which is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or previously by Krishna and all great personalities, all great Vaishnavas, that was given the mission that to be para upakar. But these persons, although they're practicing their internal spiritual life very nicely, na parartha nishtaha, they have no determination of para artha, of giving benefit to others. Aitam vihaya kripana vimamuksha eko. That even though such persons are I'm sorry, I just got some interruption here. Some persons are nasty, kripanam. They are, they're greedy. They're full of bad qualities. He said, I know that they're all full of quality, but that makes me more determined, much more determined, that I should do something for their benefit. And I cannot simply think of my own benefit, because nanam torasya sharanam brahmato nupashe. That because without your mercy, my dear Lord, without your mercy, what is the hope for them? So what is the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that descends upon everyone in this age of Kali? That is the chanting of the holy name. And therefore, but we may think, well, yes, I would love to be on the platform of Shuddhanam. I would love to be purified enough to really taste the holy name and give that holy name to others. But I'm not on that. I'm not there yet. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, for the benefit of everyone, he said there are two types of conditioned chanting. Pratibimba Namabhasa and Chaya Namabhasa. So he said that the difference between the two, they're both okay in one sense. They both can lead to Shuddhanam, or the pure chanting of the holy name. But Pratibimba, which means a reflection, just a reflection of the holy name. That reflection of the holy name will there's chanting, there's a desire to chant the holy name, but it's accompanied by so many other material desires. Therefore, it's considered to be a reflection. And because of that, one may take much longer time, or one may commit many offenses and not be able to perform it properly. But Chaya Namabhasa, which means the shadow of the holy name, it means that you're getting the holy name from a pure source, but because of your conditioned nature, although you're trying as hard as possible, it's still Chaya, it's still a shadow, it's not complete. But because of the sincere desire of that devotee who's chanting in that way, then one will come soon. Soon may mean 5 minutes or 5 days or 5 years or 5 lifetimes. All of that is very soon if we take into the account one life of Brahma, or even one yuga, one series of 4 yugas, one yuga cycle. That it's very short time. So we should be very, very focused on the chanting of the holy name, and very desirous of giving that holy name to others. And this is what we're trying to achieve in this wonderful effort. Just like the other day here in the US, I saw some announcement. This is beer drinking day. So they have beer drinking day, they have dog day, they have cat day, and they have all kinds of different days dedicated to something totally useless. Mother's Day and Father's Day, that's maybe a little better, but it's still just a bodily concept of life. What to speak of beer day, beer drinking day. So they invent all these things. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada said that when you're trying to catch a criminal, although a policeman should drive the speed limit, but when he's chasing a criminal, he has to go faster than the criminal and therefore faster than the speed limit. So also, if we see that the external society has beer day, dog day, this day, that day, then how much more should we have holy name, not only a day, a week, because the holy name is so important. The holy name is the main principle, possibility of getting out of the quagmire, the complicated mesh of material existence. And so this is what this particular mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is supposed to do. Let me just shut down something here. I'm getting some interference. Fortunately, I have to go back to this later. Sometimes I forget to turn things off, and then the people start calling or something. So, and Srila Prabhupada, he said, this was a statement of Srila Prabhupada from the original songbook. I don't know if it's there anymore in the newer versions of the songbook, but in the old songbook, Srila Prabhupada stated that the safest place in the three worlds is taking shelter of the holy name. There's nothing safer, because as Prabhupada said, if you can't do anything else, you chant the holy name. There was one devotee in New York who would take 12 to 15 minutes to chant one round. And then he got to the point of 20 minutes for one round. So 20 minutes for one round, that means like 6 hours to chant your round. And sometimes he would take 8 hours. So his temple president complained, and Srila Prabhupada said, what is the problem? He is doing his best. So Krishna will see our sincere desire in our chanting. If we want to chant the holy name properly, if we want to give the holy name. So if you do both of those things, if you chant the holy name and you give the holy name, let's say someone is working, and so they're saying, well, how does this apply to me? I'm working, I'm going, I have to go to the office or whatever. So how will I benefit from my internal chanting and giving the holy name? Because we sponsor Harinam, we sponsor book distribution, we sponsor some aspect of the Harinam. We encourage devotees to go on Harinam Sankirtan, because, of course, Srila Prabhupada said that Harinam is very wonderful, but distribution of books, this is also Harinam, this is also something we should do in the Holy Name Week. We should give the Holy Name and give Srila Prabhupada, who has brought the Holy Name to this world. And Srila Prabhupada would, chant. One time, Hari Shorty told me, Srila Prabhupada in South India, he was in South India, Nellore, and these people were trying to cheat Srila Prabhupada out of a property. They were offering a property, but Srila Prabhupada was very, very astute, very intelligent, and he could see that these people he could see by the arrangement that these people wanted us to fix up their place, and then they would try to take it back, just like Mr. Nair. He donated or sold for a very small amount the Juhu property, but then what he wanted was the devotees would come in, clear it out, fix it up, and then he could take it over, because he being a businessman, he knew that the city would go in that direction. But of course, even in spite of his efforts to stop Krishna consciousness, it cannot be stopped. As Srila Prabhupada said, the only way this Krishna consciousness movement can ever be stopped is by our own internal difficulties. And those internal difficulties will be remedied by the chanting of the holy name. Therefore, the Bhagavatam begins in the very beginning. Shunvatam Sokata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam. That this chanting of the holy name and hearing the holy name or hearing Krishna Katha, this is the way, this is the means by which we can chant the holy name. So now we have 5 minutes left. And so I'm going to pause here to see if anyone has any question or would like to ask a question or some comment or question before we go on in these last 5 minutes. Here is a question. All glory to beloved Srila Prabhupada. You mentioned the process of sharing the holy name is first we cultivate it within us and then we share it with others. Please explain some steps of cultivating it within us. How can we pay attention to not committing offenses as a crucial initial step in cultivating the holy name within us? Well, that's easy. How do we cultivate the holy name? The best way to receive the holy name or to get strength in the holy name is in kirtan. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the most powerful chanting is done in kirtan, because in kirtan, you get the potency from all the other devotees. So the strength of the holy name is in association. The strength in all aspects of Krishna consciousness is mostly found in association with those who are attached. Therefore, if we try to take advantage of devotees like His Holiness Bhakti Marg Swami or His Holiness Lokanath Swami, either directly, personally, or virtually, or however, we listen to them, we dedicate, we by hearing that pure chanting of these devotees, my dear God brother Agni Dev Prabhu, these are devotees who have dedicated their lives by Asaki Prabhu to chanting the holy name and spreading the holy name in one way or another, through yoga studios, through Harinam, whatever. Then our attention improves, our concentration improves. But Srila Prabhupada said, what is the difficulty? He said, here is Radha, here is Krishna, here is Vrindavan. This is what the holy name means. I'm chanting Radha's names, I'm chanting Krishna's name, I'm situated, and when I'm doing that, I'm situated in Vrindavan. So, how do we pay attention to not commit offenses? By every morning reflecting on what are those offenses and expanding the understanding. There's so many places in Srila Prabhupada books, like in Prahlad Maharaj's prayers to, or his instructions to his playmates, to the other children. He gave them he gave them Krishna consciousness. He gave them the holy name, and he got them to chant. And so, as you said here, and I always say that you can't give something you don't have. So if we want people to take the holy name seriously, we have to take the holy name seriously. We can't expect that I'll watch my favorite TV program and then I'll go out on Harinam for an hour, but I got to get back because there's a cricket game. So if we think like that, then what will be the potency? But if we ourselves are absorbed in the holy name, then the holy name will bless us. I hope that answers your question. Any other quick question? And we're almost at the time limit, and I don't know what the next activity is. Maybe Umapati Prabhu can. Maybe it's Arti. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for your presentation. There's a question in the chat that I would like to read.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned that one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples was not chanting the minimum requirement because service was being emphasized above chanting. What effect does it have when a devotee who may hold a responsible position, for example, a head pujari or temple president, not chant their wrongs on them personally and on others in general.
Srila Prabhupada addresses that in Nectar of Devotion, where he says, if for some reason during a festival or you can't finish your chanting, you must do it the next day. That's what so if it's a big festival, maybe you do it 2 days or 3 days, but you must do it. So that's Srila Prabhupada's instruction. And that Nectar of Devotion was done very early. Actually, Srila Prabhupada began to translate the whole Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but he could see that it would be very time consuming and it would interfere with his translation of the Bhagavatam. So he did the Nectar of Devotion, the summary study. So the answer is that a devotee always has to chant the minimum. And as Prabhupada said, why 16 rounds? Actually, Srila Prabhupada said one time, a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, how can I chant 16 rounds with quality? And Prabhupada said, 16 rounds means no quality. If you're just chanting the minimum, that means you don't have much attachment. If you chant 64 rounds or 108 rounds, then, you have some quality because you're attached to chanting. But if you're chanting the minimum and, just like, wow, got that over with, throw our bead bag to the side and leave it there to collect dust until tomorrow, then it won't have very, very good effect. So there's one, I don't know, do we have time to answer one more question? I'm just asking there's another question here.
Yes, Maharaj, you can go ahead.
Okay, so here's one. Why a devotee like you cannot just focus in the holy name instead of getting so many text messages, emails, calls, and get so busy? Why do you do that for us? Why do I do it or why don't I do it? I would love to do that. If you can convince everyone to stop sending letters, emails, everything, I will just chant the holy name. But actually, Srila Prabhupada, I was just reading it. Srila Prabhupada was, this was also in 1970. Prabhupada was starting, he started the Los Angeles Temple. He told the devotees, I formed a GBC. I want them to deal with management, and I want so that I can translate. But devotees, what did the devotees do? They said that he got this message at New Vrindavan. They were preaching Mayavad philosophy, and he saw that the printing was not being done right. His name wasn't being spelled right in the books. And so Prabhupada he had to stop his translation. So I can't expect, if the devotees could not leave Prabhupada to do his translation, how can I expect that devotees will just be so introspective in their Krishna consciousness and so absorbed that I can just sit around and chant 64 rounds a day? I would be very happy to do so. But that's not what we have inherited, because we're a preaching movement and there's always new people coming and there's always new challenges and there's always new social issues. Just like I know devotees of 15, 20 years, 25 years, they're more concerned with gender identification or re-identification or trans identification than chanting the holy name. So when those things happen, then what do? We have to stop and try to help them to understand. But please help me tell all those people in the meetings and no more meetings, no more emails, no more WhatsApp. But then if there's no meetings, and then how will we make sure that Srila Prabhupada's movement goes on properly? How will we make sure? How did Srila Prabhupada make sure? I always say that Srila Prabhupada, he gave preference to making ISKCON pure. and perfect. He gave preference of that over his translation. That's how concerned he was about this movement. So that is Srila Prabhupada's legacy. We have to be concerned that this movement will go on, and we have to take whatever sacrifice necessary in order to do that. Hare Krishna. So I think that's pretty much it for the questions. And so I want to thank everyone very much for your kind attention. And I pray that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Haridas Thakur, Srila Prabhupada empower all of you in all the activities that you will be carrying on in this coming week to glorify the holy name. We just had Shravanam week. Now we have Kirtanam week, and maybe we'll have Smaranam week and Padasevanam week. Everybody can worship the deity. We'll just, every week we can dedicate to one of the processes of devotional service or one anga of bhakti, and then there will be no more Maya, no time for Maya. So thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj, for a wonderful presentation on the holy name. It's always wonderful whenever we get the opportunity to hear from you. So thank you. And thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. Again, tonight is the first night of a series of classes and kirtans. Tomorrow from 6 p.m. in Trinidad and Guyana time, we will be having kirtan from devotees of the Suriname Yatra, followed by a class by His Grace Badahari Prabhu, Finding Shelter in the Holy Name. So for those who is viewing from Suriname, the time will be kirtan at 7 p.m. and class at 8 p.m. So I do hope everyone can join us again tomorrow and for the rest of the week. So thank you again. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. World Holy Name Festival 2020 ki jai.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Guru Prasad Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Yago